2025 was a huge The New York Stock Exchange once it is announced that it will be on chain coming soon. That is the plan. And crypto, as has been the pattern lately, is crashing. Because nothing great. Nothing like having good news to not pump the crypto prices and do the opposite. That seems to be where we're headed. We are going to talk about that today, and we got a ton of Algorand and Hedera news for you today. It's really been building up over the weekend and Monday. I hope everyone's doing well out there. Prices crashing, Bitcoin at 90,000 as I start this stream. That's where we're at today, and it's not great. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this bullish news, which seems to keep pushing the price down for some reason, because I don't know. Nothing really makes sense in crypto these days, but lots of stuff to talk about it. We're going to do our best to make sense of it. Plenty of news, like I said, in Algorand and Hedera today, and we're going to cover this New York Stock Exchange, rumored to be built on Chainlink, but I'm not so convinced. I haven't. That's the rumor that's going around. They did say multi-chain. It would be a multi-chain effort, so we'll dig into that. But people saying it's Chainlink, and we don't really see any reflection in the price. Everything is pretty much crashing, and almost all of those gains that we've had in the last couple weeks are back to being gone. So we'll dive into all that. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Just a reminder that we are live on YouTube, on Kick, on Twitch, and on X. And I'm just going to make sure X is, we got some people watching on X. Now, last time we live streamed, X was not working, and that kind of sucked. Speaking of X, I just got my first payout for being on X. That came Friday night, so that's kind of neat. First time. I didn't know what it was going to be or if I'd even qualify for one, and I actually got almost a couple hundred bucks for posting on X. Now, I don't know if that's going to be typical or if that's because it said it was basically since payouts started to now was the time period that they listed. So I really have no idea if I have a feeling that was for that whole time period and they kind of back pay you, which is interesting. And this next time, who knows, maybe it'll be quite a bit less, could be, don't really know. So we'll see that. And we just had a video yesterday posted, so you should guys check that out. That is the Algorand Daily Lottery, which you can earn. You can possibly win, which is pretty neat. But also, they pay rewards for holding the lot token. So I've been getting a little bit of that every day. Um, kind of up and down depending on the day, how many people participate. So it's kind of I got like a long-term strategy with that. So we'll see if that pays off. But you can see my video about it on the channel. It is a sponsored video, so I appreciate them sponsoring the video. And it is something, like I said, I'm using. And channel members, and we'll talk about the channel memberships. You can see that in the description. You can go, if you go to our main page, you can become a channel member. We're talking about my Algorand Daily Lottery strategy, so you can get that in the channel member page. And I'll probably do a video on that at some point, like a standalone experiment video, as I have for some of my other ones. They don't really do all that well, though. I'm kind of surprised. To me, that's the most valuable thing I'm doing, and they don't really get a lot of views. But I think they're probably the most valuable thing I'm doing, because I'm actually trying stuff out and showing you whether it works or not. And there's a mix of that. Some stuff works really well, some stuff doesn't. Alpha Arcade has worked out really well. Really quiet chat today. Boy, you guys are usually, now we're starting a little late, I know, because I had a business meeting this morning that I needed to attend. Yeah, I actually got a pretty good audience, and you guys are just, either you're quiet or it's just not working. Did I screw up the chat or something, I wonder? Well, anyway, now there's the one thing I want to mention too, and this is what happens when YouTube is not your full-time job. I have a full-time business outside of this. Obviously, I have some flexibility, but I have a meeting at 2, so I will not be able to cover the Algorand call, which I had hoped to. They announced this on Monday for a Tuesday meeting, and I really wish they'd announced this stuff a little farther ahead of time, because then I wouldn't have scheduled a meeting at 2. And I scheduled it at 2 because because I thought I'd be done with my live stream by then. So it'd be nice if they would do this stuff a little ahead of time. But Green Blue Algo in the chat, welcome, my friend, says the entire world must feel like a minefield for gambling addicts. Howdy. It might be. Especially if you're an altcoin gambling addict. What's been doing really well for me is straight up old-fashioned gold. I started DCAing into this later last year. People said I was an idiot, and so far it's been one of my best performing assets. So yeah, people are usually wrong about these things. They're treating gold. The problem is, I understand their reasoning. They're like, well, it's already at all-time highs. Yeah, but gold is a little bit different. Gold acts a little more like index funds, where they just kind of slowly go up for the most part. So if you're dollar cost averaging in, it's usually a good strategy for assets like index funds or gold, which just tend to go up over time. I would argue Bitcoin is kind of like that, though much more volatile. Gold's volatility is way lower. And so, but that's like, again, another long-term play. And like I said, it's been my best asset. So without further ado, because I don't know how long I'm going to be able to go today, why don't we just dive right into the charts. Actually, I'm going to do, there we go. And yeah, you can see we're just over 3 trillion in market cap, down almost 4%, 3.62%. And same thing with the coin market cap 20, also down. So it's usually a pretty good indicator of the overall market. Green Blue says all of my tiny rewards went to milled silver. Well, that was a smart play, because if you kept it in tiny, it would just keep dropping. We'll get to the Vestige charts too. I haven't even looked at them yet this morning. I'm sure they're just as brutal as the rest of the market. We got Bitcoin at 90,000, just above 90,000. I'm probably going to go buy a little more after this stream, and then Ethereum at 3,000. I remember we were at 3,300 even yesterday. I think it was holding pretty well, and everything just falling back. The majors. We got Solana at 127, and that was in the 140s. People were talking about hoping for 150. I saw this morning that Bitcoin is still in the upward consolidation range. Well, upward, not consolidation range, but you know what I mean. and it might not be there anymore. I think it's probably down. Let's just see Monero dropping quite a bit. Let's see what's first off. Is anything up? Yes, Canton is up in the last 24 hours. That has been a very interesting. This seems to be moving counter to the rest of the market. Meme Core up 5%. Pump seems to always be up a little bit. Even Pax Gold, following the price of gold. Tether Gold, same. And actually, yeah. So not much about that. And then what about 7-day? Yeah, Dash is up like 30%. Layer 0 still up 9%. Internet Computer Protocol 7%. Sky 4. So you got a couple things that are up on the week, but it's mostly a bloodbath. So let's go back to 24 and let's see what's done the worst. And Monero at the top of that list over 24 hours had a huge pump recently. Now it's popping back down a little bit, followed by SPX 6900. I've seen that one on here before. Don't know a thing about it. Not really that interested. Midnight, the Cardano privacy chain at 10% down. Then Morpho and Hyperliquid. Story IP, typically Story IP and Dash have been pumping quite a bit lately. They are down. Now, what about the 7-day? That belongs to Story IP, dropping like a ton. And so has SPX 6900. Stacks 2193, Ether 21. Pudgy Penguins dropping quite a bit. WorldCoin dropping. Monero on that list. Worse over 24 hours, not as bad over 7 days. Aptos. So I guess it's good. We own Swee's even down there in number 12, but I guess for Algorand and Hedera folks, it's nice to have it not be it hasn't been typically one of the top gainers, but also not one of the top losers, which is interesting. In fact, why don't we scroll down? And before we do that, Green Blue says, seen anything regarding InfoFi? I think it's interesting to completely stop the project's dead. One of the biggest drops was slated for folks. Lots less spam these days. And he also says, did you watch Charles' Sunday video? Tend to agree with him. I have not watched that video. He had another video a while back when he was leaving X, and I watched that one. I think did we watch that on stream? I think I was thinking about it. Yeah. We watched some of it. I think we watched some of it, didn't we? InfoFi, no, I still don't entirely know what InfoFi is. I've seen a ton of posts about InfoFi, and people always act like these things are perfectly understood. And this is one of my biggest frustrations in crypto, is that nothing ever gets explained. It drives me nuts. You have to do so much digging just to find out basic information because people can't explain what they're talking about. We'll get to that too. We'll get to that too when we talk about some of the news from Algorand, because some of it's just written in such an obtuse way. But yeah, I wanted to check on, well, first off, Hedera, which is now down to 25, sitting at just over 10 cents. It's definitely fallen. It's not one of the worst because it's been a bloodbath, but definitely not great. And then what about Algorand? It's been sitting between 62 and 63 on the market cap at 11.5 cents, so not as bad. It's been interesting watching the price go between Algorand and Hedera. They've been kind of battling for top price, which, really Hedera should be a lot lower, given it's about 5 times the supply of Algorand, but that's where we're at with those two, the ones we follow the most. Let's go back to, we don't go to Vestige, we go to Hay now. Their screener, just want to check on something here. Kino Inu pays for the boost. That's why they're at the top here. Boy, that they really fall. Just looking at the top coins, and we have to kind of skip down to, GoBTC is going for 89,318. Very, very interesting, because that is less than what regular Bitcoin is going for. Alpha Arcade, down below 2 cents. So that one's fallen quite a bit. Haystack has fallen. Everything's down. Let's just not even why even parse things at this point. Big drop. Holy crap, that's a big drop for folks. Folks is not holding up. Tiny below 0.3 cents now. I still have, I think I have a bunch of tiny rewards I haven't collected. Yeah, maybe I should just put mine into silver. Even though it's like super, it's a little too hot right now. Wouldn't mind a little bit of a pullback, to be honest. Let's see. So pretty much everything on the 7-day is at least 10%. Some of them as high as 30. Green Blue says you would submit your X account to be tracked for engagement. Your wallet would also be tracked for engagement. You were paid based on metrics. 75% of the engagement on Folks campaign was from Nigeria. Interesting. I did mine the natural way. I did a lot of reply guying, but yeah, I didn't pay for any info fi. It kind of makes sense because those guys grew a lot. So I don't even know what to talk about here. I do want to go, and Haystack is a sponsor, so you should check them out in the description below. By the way, I really like what these guys are doing. I do some of my swaps on Haystack now, and they find pretty good deals for you. And if you you can use my referral code, and then you can start referring people, and you can earn a cut of their trades. So that's kind of neat. So definitely check that out. Check that out in the description. Haystack. This is made by the same guys as Non-Fungible Domains, and they also did Ready Pools. So this is a pretty solid group of people here. I want to switch over to Vestige just because I want to see this top chart. Let's see, top gainers. Something called Tall Ship is at the top gainers. Otherwise, yeah, folks being down 10% is definitely trending. Maybe I'll use that as an excuse to DCA a little bit, bring down my cost. I stupid bought, folks. I definitely stupid bought, folks. I had a good thesis, but yeah, I wasn't very smart about how I did that. Fair enough. Let's go over to Hedera, not Salt. What am I thinking of? By the way, smart that these platforms are adding this because it gives us an excuse to talk about it on stream. By the way, Saucer Swap, if you want to sponsor Frugal BC, you should hit me up. Not as bad as I actually would have expected. Everything's like 4 or 5% down, pretty much. And even Gibbs actually even up a little bit. That's kind of interesting. I'm kind of skipping over anything that's USD, but yeah, pretty much between 2, 3, 4, 5, 6%. Generally speaking, is what most things are down. Not a lot of major outliers. This MFM is up 2.7%. This JEET is down 9%. I've heard that's okay. So I've been told, I actually got banned on X for using that word. So supposedly it's a slur against Indian people, which I did not know. I thought it meant to like pull your funding out. I tried to make the argument that, hey, this is actually like a crypto term. I wasn't using it. Obviously given the context, I wasn't making a thing against Indian people, which I have nothing against Indian people. I don't really have anything against any type of people, to be honest. Not because of race. I mean, I don't like when people commit fraud or something, but or do bad things, but not like it just doesn't make sense to, go after a group, in my opinion, because people are people. Good and bad people in just about every group, from what I found. Anyway, yeah. Otherwise, not a lot of outliers, and this one will just go on and on and on. But I think this one's sorted by liquidity, which is a pretty common way to sort these things. And it's kind of funny. Sauce is actually number 3. Now, Sauce right now at a little under 2 cents. I remember when it was up to 18 cents, and I had a nice little bag of it at that point. So that is our charts for today. Now, how's everyone doing? I hope everyone is having a good day. Chat, very quiet, just Green Blue and me here, but I know we got a big audience. I've been checking periodically. By the way, if you're watching on Kick or Twitch or one of those platforms, and also YouTube or X, you guys can comment on any of those. I will see them. I do have to remember to switch to my multi-chat here. And Kick, I get a lot of spam. I get a lot of grow your subscriber base with blah, blah, blah. I actually have a lot of people following me on Kick too, but getting people to watch on Kick is very difficult, I found. Wow, that chart takes up a lot of memory. That's like a whole gig. So I guess we'll get right to the Algorand news. Hold on a second here. So I guess we'll get right to the, close that out. All right, let me pull up my bookmarks, and I think we're going to go right to this. I'm going to go right to the Algorand news. And let me find which one. Oh, this would be a good one. Okay, so like I said, when I do these, I cut these for YouTube later on, so I don't respond to chat unless it's relevant to Algorand, otherwise not. So let me grab some water. One of the top 10 conglomerates in Japan just developed a new environmental initiative, and it involves Algorand. We're going to dive into this along with a bunch of other news today on our Algorand segment. So let's take a look at this. So this is right from the Algorand Foundation. When a top 10 Japanese conglomerate adopts environmental attribute certificates, the infrastructure matters. MOL and Itochu are scaling environmental attribute certificates via 123 carbon. 1 to 3 carbon, I guess it's 123 carbon. 1 to 3 carbon uses Algorand to create verifiable, immutable EAC registries. So that's a pretty big Japanese organization. This originally came from, it's reported by Algorand Japan. I could probably try to read some of this. I actually do read some Japanese. This is just Algorand spelled out in kana in Japanese. Account. This is account, something account, Japan, Oyobi, something kara Algorando, something news. Yeah, so we won't read any more Japanese on the show, but I think this is a big deal in terms of, now I wish, this is what I was kind of referencing before. I kind of wish some of this stuff would be explained a little better. You can read the whole thing here. In fact, now we take a quick look. From Tokyo, Mitsui OSK Lines today announced the signing of a memorandum of understanding for a strategic partnership with Itochu Corporation to advance decarbonation in the transportation sector through the use of environmental attribute certificates. So through this, both companies will collaborate in marketing, public relations, sales, and other areas to promote the adoption of EACs, helping companies use transportation services to reduce their Scope 3 emissions. By forming a cross-industry partnership between shipping and aviation, this initiative represents a new model for decarbonization in Japan. And essentially all of this, do they talk about this? So they're using this to actually track and then reduce their emissions. And they can track this all through a company that operates on top of Algorand. Now, what does this mean for holders? What does this mean for people? Why should you care? Well, I imagine that will use quite a few transactions, which will boost activity on the chain, which is always good for people who care about the chain. So I think this is really good news. I call this the boring but important stuff because, like, it's not very sexy. It's not, I think what a lot of people are hoping for is that Algorand will have something to do with the New York Stock Exchange putting its trades on chain, so it'll be available 24/7. That is a major change. Like I said, though, I don't know if Algorand, no one has mentioned blockchains except I've seen rumors about Chainlink, and that could mean it. I know they did say it was multi-chain, so Algorand, Hedera could be a part of that. But let's move on to our next item, and this is really recent. Wonder what this can be. It says Parawallet. Now this looks like the Parawallet menu, but then we have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Base, and Solana. So I think I think we have Bitcoin, Ethereum Base, and Solana onboarding on Para is what this is looking like. Looks like what that is hinted at. It doesn't say for sure, so we'll have to keep an eye on that news, but that is coming right from Para, so because something very, very cool could be in the works. Native cross-chain wallet support is what the Algorand. How would you even pronounce that? I get they're saying they're combining Algorand and accountant, but Algountant, would you say it? No idea how you would say that. It looks like something very interesting is being tested. Now we haven't checked down on Realms, but it looks like they got this fighting game going on that's going to be launching soon. So let's read what they have to say. Hey, Algo fam, we found a small bug in the fighting game. It won't take too long to fix. We're going to push the launch date back another week to January 29th. So it's coming very, very soon. Sorry to be annoying. I thought this would be a good opportunity to address the community regarding the progress of this overall project, which, I think we should. Definitely something worth talking about. First, I know I made loads of mistakes in managing this project. I put this down to inexperience. I sort of got thrown into the situation when Dartroom was transferred to me a couple of years ago and didn't have any experience of how to run a company or build a business. I think that's the case with a lot of these projects in crypto. I think a lot of them are kind of first-time business owners. And one thing I think the foundation maybe could help with is having some business development and helping some of these people with business development, because it takes a while to learn business. It's not something you learn overnight. I think the idea for the project is solid, but delivery on the idea has not been great. The racing game wasn't as polished as I'd hoped, and it took 6 months more time to even get to the stage as it is now. I'm not able to keep on the 2 people that made the game, so updates on the racing game are going to be slow, but I do intend to find a way to improve it. Fighter has been made to a higher standard, mainly by Goku, Naro, and me, as we've been working on it longer than the racer, over a year, and feel like this is the best chance for the project of releasing a fun cross-chain game that can possibly work as a vessel to bring NFT and meme communities from multiple chains together. And I gotta say, I haven't looked into this. In a long time. This is Akita Inu and Dork NFTs fighting each other in this game, which is pretty neat. There'll be around 35 characters to start with, but there is no limit on how many characters we can add. I'd love to have over 100 by this time next year. As I mentioned earlier in the message, I started out on this journey quite inexperienced, but I've been learning this whole time. I'm 100% committed to making the project a success. So he's learning. I've been learning how to make smart contracts, and I've just recently deployed my first contract for the new upcoming Nico UUBI and NodeKeeper staking governance platform. It's a bit sad, but Algorand is my life. I love being part of this community, and I really do hope I can repay everyone's support of the project. So for those that don't know, Realms is supposed to be the first metaverse project in Algorand. It seems to have mostly been focused on games, and you have I know you can get this virtual stuff. I bought a gun on there or something. I've bought a few things around boxes and stuff on there. So I played around with it a little bit. I actually haven't looked into it in a while. So yeah, it's interesting that they're making some progress here. Just kind of curious. Well, it looks like people are overall pretty positive. Not a lot of anger, which is good to see. Sometimes with this stuff, people get pretty worked up. But that is the update on Realms, and I think we've done some stuff on it a couple of years ago. So keep an eye out for that one. We'll move on to the next item. So this is an interesting post about transactions, and it's talking about Ethereum had 550 million transactions in 2025, but Solana had 35 billion. And Ranter points out that Algorand had 3.5 billion, costing 1 million, which is interesting because users paid 10 million in gas fees for 35 billion transactions on Solana, while paying around 1.5 billion on Ethereum for 60 times fewer transactions. And if you do the math, 1 million versus, wait, how much was it? Yeah, 10 million. So if you combine those, dang it. Okay, so if you combine those, if you do the math, Algorand costs about the same as Solana for all these transactions, which I think is pretty interesting. So I don't know. I thought that was worth checking out. Interesting that this was posted in December, so 22nd. So the year wasn't quite finished yet, but yeah, it's probably going to roughly be the same. But about 10 times the activity going on Solana versus Algorand. Now, Greenblue points out that Solana volume includes failed transaction retries, and that's probably true. So that is an important point to keep in mind, and something we frequently point out about Solana. The tech has some serious problems that its supporters kind of seem to refuse to acknowledge. This is just the first story from the Mitsui OSK Lines and Itochu Corporation using Algorand, or a company that uses Algorand to track its carbon emissions. Now, this is definitely interesting. So this, and honestly, this really surprised me. This comes from Crypto Twits, which does follow me, which is pretty cool. Just in prediction market, Alpha Arcade, which, as you know, is built on Algorand, is third in weekly transactions, only behind Polymarket and Kalshi. So that is something else. Weekly transactions, Alpha Arcade, I'm just going to restate this, is doing almost as much activity, is doing third most activity amongst all these different prediction markets, except for Polymarket and Kalshi, which are two of the biggest prediction markets. That is incredibly impressive. This puts Alpha Arcade in front of other prediction markets like Opinion Labs, Myriad Markets, Try Limitless, and others. MJ says the 49ers may have let me down, but Alpha Arcade delivers. And then I did have to point this out. Oh, you did not just do it. I think you did. Okay, hold on. Why does it do this? I got one more, and now I have to hunt for it because for whatever reason, X likes to mix up. Here it is. So something major happened with, oh, this isn't even the, hold on. I gotta hunt around a little bit for this one. I apologize, but I swear that I kept the one. Okay, here's the actual channel. Now, I don't know if you guys are following the Nugget project, but it turned out it had a huge crash. And I just want to show you guys this. Let's find it on, because I want to show you what I'm talking about first. Oh, please hurry up. Oh, again, I can get rid of that. Oop, there it was. So just so you guys know what I'm talking about, first and foremost, as soon as this actually loads. Here we go. I don't know why that went. This is a project called ILC Nugget, and you can see it had a huge drop. Now, you might look at that and wonder what happened. A lot of people thought this was a rug pull. Turned out it wasn't. And Catlin in the chat, hello. What can I say? I'm sorry, this is my fault. I want a Nugget to be for everyone that has been rugged, ticked off with crypto, and due to burning the candle at both ends, I messed up. The idea was to turn Nugget into a community-based asset. Hold on, that's not even the one. Here it is. Well, chaps, one of my scripts just sent out over 3 billion Nugget. If you're one of the lucky ones, this is, of course, a mistake. And if you'd like to DM me, I will be tracing the wallets. I'll be not touching liquidity if you feel the need to withdraw straight away. Sorry about this. So accidentally dumped out 3 billion nugget, which, as we can see, totally crashed the price. Now, people thought this was a rug pull. It wasn't. It was just an error. He said, what can I say? You can see my wallets, and for 4K after working day after day to try and build something, I am truly sorry. Whatever liquidity is left after tonight will, of course, be distributed pro rata until I can get something sorted. What can I say? I'm sorry, this is my fault. I want a nugget to be for everyone, and that has been ticked off with crypto, and due to burning the candle at both ends, I messed up. My idea was to turn Nugget into a community-based asset with fingers and many pies. Privacy Hub was the next natural extension of this meme token. I'm sorry I've lost out. I'm not running away. I completely understand that trust is lost, and for that, all I can do is say sorry. Site Telegram, yes, I'm open here now, and other API services are operational. What's next? Death threats, etc. is not going to fix this problem, and I am truly sorry for this to have occurred. All of the main Nugget wallets are active, and you can see the totals on chain. A lot of people were pretty supportive. I think this is the right. Obviously, it's a huge mistake and an error that's really going to crush people who care about that. Looks like someone withdrew their comment. Interesting. So it's unfortunate, you know. It's but I don't think it was done intentionally. It wasn't done maliciously. It is a big error, and I think he took accountability for that. And you know, you got to appreciate that. You got to appreciate someone could have ran away and hid, and he did not. He came in. He said, "Hey, I screwed this up. This sucks." Green Blue says, "Have you seen the Algorand announcement of the advisory council?" I have not. Did the foundation, is this something recent? Also, why wouldn't it just go to the top? Ooh, here it is. I had a chat. Someone was saying that they asked if this was an anti-Solana channel. Not necessarily. I think it's tended to be a price mover. I just don't think it's actually a I think there's a lot of technological issues that I think its supporters tend to overlook. And hey, I'm calling out when I see things that are bad on Algorand. I call those out too. Anyway, we're proud to announce the inaugural Algorand Ecosystem Advisory Council. This group brings together key members of the Algorand ecosystem to provide structured feedback and guidance to the foundation and board, strengthening transparency and collaboration. Now, who do we have here? We got Paweł Pierszczynek from Urtho. You got Simon Bellingar from Cosmic Champs, Benedetto Biondi from Folks Finance, Uras Hudumaji from Valor, Patrick Bennett from Transaction Labs, Jerry Chu from Lofty, and Fergal Welsh from Tiny Man. So that's a pretty good mix of people. You know, I might have liked to see John Mazzoni on that, but his co-founder Patrick is on there, and that makes sense. Let's just look into this news. This will be the last thing we do on Algorand. Part of our commitment to strengthening our strategic position and growth, on the 14th, the foundation announced our relocation to the U.S. and welcomed the new board of directors because we know that the network's long-term success is fundamentally linked to a healthy, active ecosystem. We also announced the formation of the Algorand Ecosystem Advisory Council. The mandates are to solicit and deliver broad-based ecosystem feedback to the foundation on the one hand, and to give the audience on the ecosystem impact of the foundation proposals on the other. Guidance to the ecosystem impact. Establishing a more formal bridge between the ecosystem and foundation leadership will create greater transparency and collaboration as we navigate the network's future together. Now, remember, we covered the elections, and I thought it was going to be actually a bigger board, so I guess I'm a little confused on how we got from point A to point B, but so here's what it will do. We're just going to skip right down to this. Assess and represent ecosystem health, provide substantive input on protocol decisions, and share community feedback. So going back, you know, if you want something to happen, hopefully you know one of these people, or you have contact with one of these people, and you can reach out and have a chat with them. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this goes, and see what impact it actually has. Would have been nice to have this in place, and it would have been nice for them to have some impact on who sits on the board. Jerry Chu used to follow me, does not follow me since I called out Lofty. I think it was an unfair assessment, and it is what it is. Patrick and Simon, I'm pretty in with. Not so much the other folks. I didn't even know who Fergal Walsh is. I'd never heard of that person. So, but that's who's in. A lot of congrats around. Very cool. And I see people seem to be pretty happy with the people on it. I kind of agree. So awesome. I think so. Otherwise, I think that's it for our. Now, the one thing I want to add, and if you're watching this on replay, obviously it would have already happened. At 2:30 today, Central Time, and I think it's like 11:30 a.m. PST. The Algorand Foundation is going to have a community call. I'd hoped to cover it, but I realized I had a meeting at 2 because I didn't know this call was coming. I wouldn't have scheduled it if I had known more than a day in advance. But that's not how the foundation rolls. Yeah, we already talked about yeah. I just so wish it didn't mix up my bookmarks, but anyway, that is our Algorand segment for today, and thanks so much for tuning in for that. We got more to talk about. We got Hedera news, and we're going to talk about this New York Stock Exchange news here in a minute. Pretty healthy little audience watching today, so nice to see the chat moving along. Yeah, someone had commented, it looks like the chat got removed. Did a mod remove it? I hope a mod didn't remove it, because I don't think that's a removable thing. But they just asked like if this was a anti-Solana channel or something like that. And I'm just like critical across the board. I've been critical of Algorand when it comes up. You guys know that. You can watch. It's kind of funny. It's like you get called a shill if you say something positive about Algorand or another crypto, and you get called a fudster if you are a negative person if you say the opposite. And sometimes like there's good and bad for just about every chain. Hey, Solana, it's highly used, which is awesome. You can't undersell network effects, and I think a lot of people forget about that. And also, we're in a market that doesn't really care about the fundamentals of crypto. And one thing I noticed too, Ethereum cost is going down, capacity isn't going up, and that's a problem. But it also has network effect, and you can't turn up your nose at that. So to answer that question is, I call it how I see it, and that is the same for any of the chains I cover, along with other chains I talk about. Mr. Wonderful and Sam Bankman-Fried ruined Soul for me. I do hate hold some, however. Hey, you know what? I've made money on Solana, and I'll probably continue to make money on Solana. Doesn't mean I like it. All right, well, I think we'll just get right to and I appreciate it. If you haven't hit the like button already, by the way, I'd really appreciate that. Let's see how many likes we have. I've been keeping it up here because I don't have it on my dashboard anymore. Let me, Yep, 19 likes, and I appreciate that. If you're watching and you haven't hit the like button already, I would greatly appreciate you. You don't have to smash it. You can just press that like button gently, and it works just fine. That way too, gets the chat out, gets the video out to more people, which is what we're always trying to do here. Like I said, we're twice a week, by the way, usually at 10:30 a.m. I had a meeting in the morning that pushed it back a little today. And sometimes I adjust it. I was going to adjust it today for the Algorand all hands on deck meeting or whatever they call it. But again, they do things at the last minute, and so I wasn't able to. I already had my schedule set for the day. Yeah, so we'll get to Hedera next. That's some really cool stuff. So like I said, when I do my segments, you guys are probably sick of me hearing this, the ones that watch it all the time. But when I do these, I don't talk about, I won't address chat that's outside of the. It would be nice if all the EZA projects for the NSC or the New York Stock Exchange change. Yeah, that'd be awesome. So while I'm talking about Hedera, I will only respond to Hedera chats. Anything outside of that, I'll bring up after the segment. Well, the New York Stock Exchange announced that it is going to be bringing everything on chain, which is amazing. Now, we don't know what cryptos it could be yet. We're kind of hoping Algorand Hedera will be part of it. We do know it's multi-chain, and Chainlink has been the rumor so far, but we don't know that yet. Could be Hedera, but we do have other great Hedera news while we wait for that decision to come down, including Hedera being at Davos, something like that. This is from HBAR All In, because Mance Harmon tweeted, proud to be a co-sponsor of the USA House at Davos, expecting a busy week for Hedera. Mance Harmon at the USA House at Davos. Now, Hedera, big partnership with USA, and we're going to talk about that in a second. They've been in the room in Washington while a lot of this crypto stuff has been going on. And, the all-in folks are going to be there. So who knows? Maybe Mance will be interviewed by the all-in folks while they're at Davos. I think it's Davos, right? Speaking of USA partnerships, I'm going to skip over that. Hedera and America 250 announced official partnership for the U.S. 250th anniversary. America 250, the congressionally designated nonpartisan organization leading the commemoration of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, has announced an official partnership with Hedera, the enterprise-grade public distributed ledger network. I'm going to skip to what's Hedera's role. Hedera will support the commemoration through storytelling, community engagement, and technology-driven experiences, helping make the 250th anniversary accessible and meaningful for all Americans. Now, why does this matter? Governed by the Hedera Council, Hedera uniquely combines scalable technology, institutional governance, and built-in compliance, making it well-suited for public purpose innovation tied to moments that bring people together. Now, I don't understand exactly. They've kind of talked about their role, but this is pretty fuzzy. So I don't exactly know what Hedera is going to be doing here, but storytelling, community engagement, and technology-driven experiences. Not really sure exactly how that's going to translate, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye out for that, because Hedera involved in this big America 250 celebration, celebrating the Declaration of Independence, which is a pretty important day in American history. Cats, I see you in the chat. Thanks for being here. Appreciate that. What else do we have? We're going to get to this video because I think that'll be a lot of fun. But I thought this was pretty cool. Hedera is quietly hitting new adoption highs. Active accounts on Hedera are surging, and daily new users are up nearly 3x quarter over quarter. Real momentum toward the financial system of tomorrow. Decentralization, enterprise-grade infrastructure in action. Now, what he's saying, real usage is driving this growth, including Wyoming's state stablecoin project choosing Hedera for its Frontier Stable token, which we covered earlier last year. So, or I should say later last year, but earlier we have covered that. Institutional adoption on the rise. Gives a good example. Lloyd's Bank used Hedera for tokenized FX trades, and over 172 million USDC issued on Hedera's high-speed rails, with low fees now 0.008%. Now, remember that they increased that fee from 0.00, was it 1 or 2? I think it was 1. And so they increased it 8 times, still incredibly inexpensive. And as you know, their fees are fixed. So it's not like not a variable one where it's designated in H bar. It's actually designated in dollars. And a lot of this is just basically shouting out Hedera and its many wonderful things about it, which I agree with. I really think Hedera has been like the enterprise solution. It's the one a lot of enterprise companies are looking at, because I think when you have such big names on your governing council that are signaling support, I think that's where this comes in. I think that's where businesses see that, and that gives them confidence, and that's really important. So that's that piece of news. And anything else before we get to the video? Well, I thought this was interesting. There's an upgrade to HIP 1249, which means the old conservative gas per second limit is gone. Hedera now scales contracts based on real work done, not rough gas estimates. That 80% minimum gas charge is removed. So now you only pay for the gas actually used, no more overpaying just in case. Faster confirmations during peak demand, which is a massive performance boost for developers with no code changes either. So that's pretty exciting. That means you're going to be moving along pretty fast. I can't imagine it was that faster or that slow or expensive in the first place, because Hedera is already pretty fast and inexpensive. But if you're making it better, that's always a good thing. So I want to cap off things with this video from Zach. And let me just back up here. Zach Humphreys, he's a friend of the channel. I've been on his spaces. He's brought me up a few times. Always interesting stuff. But let's see what Zach has to say here. We're going to close out our H-bar segment with some stuff from Zach Humphreys.
All right, guys, we are back, and it is time to compare two of the top altcoins right now out there. It is Stellar XLM versus Hedera H-bar. And in the video, we're going to break it down using our CoinDuel analytical tool here. The CoinDuel analysis, phenomenal, breaks it down. We're going to break it down for you guys in this video.
That's his brand new platform, by the way. And I've been meaning to try it out. I haven't tried it out yet, but it gets you, it's like an analytics platform. Interesting idea. I'm curious to check it out.
And this is an unbelievable tool if you're trying to compare cryptos, right? Like this, XLM versus H-bar. I actually just created this company. I'm going to be using it a ton for my own research. I'm actively inputting new code into our AI model. But CoinDuel is available. There's a link down below, guys, if you want to make smarter crypto decisions with AI-powered analysis. Let's get into it. So our tool says that right now, Stellar XLM is better long-term, but Hedera H-bar is a better short-term investment. It says here, Stellar emerges as a strong candidate for long-term investment.
I'm going to say that really surprises me. I'm curious what this is going to be, because I actually would have, well, I know Stellar's been around longer, but gosh, that seems really strange to me.
Demonstrating solid tokenomics, a robust ecosystem, and a community-focused narrative. In contrast, Hedera H-bar has shown a strong short-term momentum and higher liquidity, but faces risks surrounding its centralization and adoption rates. As both tokens operate in overlapping but distinct sectors, the choice between them will hinge on investor priorities regarding decentralization and potential growth avenues.
So it's interesting. If you're evaluating it from an investor perspective, I don't know if I care as much about decentralization as I do if I'm caring about the tech specifically. Because we just found that I just don't think enterprise is going to care about decentralization in terms of the same way that like a crypto user is going to. It just seems like not as big I don't know. I find that very, very interesting. I think from an investment perspective, I'm thinking like, well, yes, you have a very permissioned governing council, but that's kind of by design. And if I'm targeting enterprise, that's actually a bonus, because like I said, and I said this earlier in the segment, if I'm XYZ company and I'm looking for a blockchain and I see all these names I don't recognize, and then I see Hedera has Google, IBM, LG, Dell, etc., I'm like, wait a minute, these guys, like these big names, these big names in business, they trust Hedera. Why would I go with that one? It just makes sense. So I don't know if I agree with that, but let's see what else it says.
So if we look at this, Stellar versus HBAR right now, the key difference is tokenomics and supply dynamics is a big one. Big win here for HBAR. Stellar's total supply is capped at 50 billion XLM, with around 25 billion currently in circulation due to prior distributions. Hedera has a max supply of 50 billion HBAR as well, with approximately 30 billion in circulation, alongside a clear vesting schedule favoring gradual release. So
that just seems a lot better to me. I'm shocked that Stellar still has so much to distribute after so long. It's been around a really long time, way longer than Hedera. I had people who were talking about Stellar way back in 2026 or 2016, 2017. HBAR is just getting off the ground in 2019. So the fact that it's still that not vested is kind of surprising to me.
So tokenomics is always a big factor to consider. At CoinDuel, we use 13 different factors right now to analyze. We're going to be adding factors. This is just V1 of the product. Now, if we continue along, there's some close comparisons here between market liquidity health, on-chain usage and network health, valuation versus fundamentals. But another, pretty stark difference here is technical and market structure. HBAR with a win here. Stellar's historical volatility is higher, suggesting less stability in market structure compared to Hedera, which has shown more consistent momentum and accumulation phases in its price movements.
And I mean, hey, I'm still up like 2x on Hedera because I bought around 5 cents. So Green Blue is saying I'm way over invested in XLM, third biggest bag. Every time I sold it, I moved profits to Algo and AVAX. Yeah, woof. Pretty much moving profits to Algorand has never been a good idea. I'm trying to move my stuff. Like I said, I'm DCAing out and trimming my position on Algorand, and I'm trying to move it over to Bitcoin. That's kind of the play for me to any excess profits. William says, hi, please, any comment on HBAR ETF? We've talked about that in past episodes. The Canary ETF has done tremendously, way better than I expected, because I didn't think there would be enough institutional interest in something like HBAR that's so far down the market cap table. I was under the impression, and I even heard this from people in the industry, that HBAR they're really just kind of getting used to Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe XRP. So I was pretty surprised that the HBAR Canary ETF did as well as it did, but it really took off. We shared them totals in past episodes. That's one more thing I would probably give to HBAR, because I don't see an XLM ETF. Maybe there is one. I haven't been looking for it fair enough, but I think it might be in that basket one that's being proposed from Grayscale, I think, but I haven't seen a standalone XLM one yet.
Now, outside of that one, here's another one for HBAR, another big win: token unlocks and vesting schedules. No significant unlocks are noted for Stellar in the immediate future, while Hedera's vesting schedule is transparent and structured, which is likely to limit potential market disruption. Whereas XLM, we don't have clear insight into the token unlocks and vesting schedule, right? There's more VC money there. But with funding rates and market sentiment, XLM gets a big win. Funding rates for Stellar are slightly favorable, indicating bullish sentiment, whereas Hedera's rates are less favorable, as sentiment among derivatives traders has been mixed. You can see here, XLM gets the edge in news, catalyst, and narrative quality, partnership and ecosystem strength. I should say these are two cryptos that I do own. I own both of them. But if you're somebody between the two, a good way to kind of use this tool is to look at, a couple of these factors. Obviously, this is a close neck and neck race, XLM edging out Hedera. Now, who knows? 2 weeks from now, you can run this same model, might be different results. That's why you need to check out CoinDuel, become a member with us if it's something you want to use all the time. But, you might just come down to a particular factor that it's important to you. Maybe it's security or centralization, where XLM has the big win over HBAR, right? And that could be your decision, to buy one token or the other. And so as of right now, XLM gets the slight advantage over HBAR, but short-term investors, Hedera, according to our tool, could be the better option. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Let me know your thoughts on CoinDuel too. You can find the link down below in the description if you want to check it out. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
The one fundamental assumption that I think CoinDuel makes overall is that I think it assumes that a lot of these things matter for price. And I've just found that fundamentals just generally don't matter. You know, I know we had someone that was a little upset that I talked about Solana, but I mean, there's a lot of things, fundamental flaws that I have with Solana, but it takes off, you know, it takes off in price. And there's a lot of these meme coins that have like no utility whatsoever, or, you know, kind of tacked on utility on top of it. And they just, you know, they take off in price. So I don't always think that's the best indicator. So I think this is cool for comparing coins in general. I don't know that I would use it as an investment thesis. That's just me personally. I do think it's pretty cool. Like I said, I like Zach. I think he has some pretty good analysis. And he's been pretty good to me. If I come on one of those spaces, he'll usually, he's got a pretty big space, but he'll bring me up, you know, and let me say my piece. So I appreciate that. But well, I thought that was interesting. Just to kind of look at HBAR and XLM, and you know, Stellar is something I haven't paid a ton of attention to. I owned a little bit way back in the day. I probably still own a little bit somewhere in my buried down under my Coinbase stuff. So, but I wanted to finish with that video because I thought it was pretty interesting. And well, I appreciate you guys tuning in for the HBAR segment. Okay, we can probably take this off. It's still a little bright, isn't it? I probably should have darkened that a little bit. Let's see how we doing here on audience. Like I said, if you haven't hit the like button, please do so. I know I remind you guys a lot, but it really helps get the word out. So appreciate that. Almost 50 people watching on YouTube. That's nice to see. And I just kind of want to get to, I need to find it. So give me a second. I'm just going to pull up. I don't even know if this is going to be. I'm just seeing if I can find a good one. I'm going to pull that up too. All right, last little segment we're going to do is on the New York Stock Exchange. Just getting a little water. Appreciate the size of the audience. Just a reminder that we are live on YouTube, on Kick, on Twitch, and on X. And I forgot, you know what I forgot? I forgot to turn on the vertical live. I don't know if it's really getting a lot of traction. It's supposed to be awesome, but we'll have to look at that. I'll have to look at the numbers. But anyway, okay, we'll start our segment. Major announcement this week that the New York Stock Exchange would be moving its trading on chain. Now, there's a lot of rumors about what chain that might be. We're going to try our best to separate facts from fiction, and as we dive into this segment. So I think it's pretty interesting. Let's dive in. Oops. So this is like the press release here. We're going to have to go to this one. This is from the Business Wire. New York Stock Exchange, part of the Intercontinental Exchange, a leading, which is ICE actually, but not that ICE, different ICE, just to be clear. Leading global provider of technology and data today announced its development of a platform for trading and on-chain settlement of tokenized securities, for which it will seek regulatory approvals. And this is right from the source. This is the press release itself. New York Stock Exchange's new digital platform will enable tokenized trading experiences, including 24/7 operations, instant settlement, orders sized in dollar amounts, and stablecoin-based funding. Its design combines the New York Stock Exchange cutting premier pillar matching engine with blockchain-based post-trade systems, including the capability to support multiple chains for settlement and custody. That's a really important aspect here, multiple chains for settlement and custody. Subject to regulatory approvals, the platform would power a new New York Stock Exchange venue that supports trading of tokenized futures fungible with traditional issued securities, as well as tokens natively issued as digital securities. Tokenized shareholders will participate in traditional shareholder dividends and governance rights. The venue is designed to align with established principles for market structure, with distribution via non-discriminatory access to all qualified broker-dealers. So this is what we got going on here. And I think this is fascinating. You know, the New York Stock Exchange is basically entering the future. It's signaling that we think that digital trading is the future, blockchain-based digital trading going to happen, which means 24/7 operations and instant settlement. Now, what coins are there? You know, when people see instant settlement, they might think, oh, is that Algorand? You know, the speed that this has to operate, is this Hedera? You know, what chains will this be? So I've seen some, I'm going to switch over to this now. Altcoin Daily said official, the New York Stock Exchange is now using Chainlink. And I asked for a source. I have not. Did he respond? So Chainlink is working. It says it's based off an announcement Chainlink last year or the year before that. I can't remember. Basically, they're already working with ICE, so people connecting to the dots. Maybe, but they didn't mention Chainlink in the press release. Now, you might, if that was actually true, you might expect a bump. As we covered earlier, there was no bump for Chainlink. So this is the kind of headline that looks boring now and obvious in hindsight. New York Stock Exchange, we don't do crypto. Also, New York Stock Exchange uses Chainlink. Still haven't seen any evidence that that is the case. It did say multi-chain, so it would kind of make sense that Chainlink, with its Oracle platform, like this actually does make sense. I don't know, like, but I tend not to believe stuff like this until I actually see something in black and white. And so no one really responded here, but I said I've seen hints at this. I did find something yesterday. I didn't mark it. I don't think I marked it. Let me double check to make sure I didn't mark it. Nope, I didn't. I did see something where someone demonstrated some code that appeared, that supposedly was from this platform and had Chainlink written into the code. I don't really buy it. I didn't see a source for it. I didn't see where it was supposedly came from or how this person came into custody of this chain or of this bit of code. So I really have no idea. I just don't necessarily believe it until I see it. So I did a little Googling, and I'm going to recreate that Google search. New York Stock Exchange and Chainlink. So this is from StockTwits, and they said, like, we can go back to our other screen here. Tokenized trading is coming, and Chainlink's role may take time to surface, analysts say. New York Stock Exchange plans a blockchain platform for tokenized stocks and ETFs, enabling a 24/7 trading and instant settlement pending approval. Francois revealed on X that Chainlink is not excluded from the launch, noting that large infrastructure tools usually experience a gradual adoption process. New York Stock Exchange is developing a tokenized security platform. We talked about that, ETF trading. International ICE partners with the banks for tokenized deposits. Regulators must approve the shift. So this is really odd the way this is written. So yeah, this is interesting. New York Stock Exchange isn't using Chainlink for their tokenized platform. Quentin says, of course they will be using Chainlink. How else are they going to run an exchange for tokenized assets? Well, they could do it on a lot of platforms. I don't know why that would be necessary. I'm so tired of people crying about the link price and posting toxic comments every time I do about it. Some people care about the tech, get excited for projects like Chainlink, who are changing the financial world how we know it. I think Chainlink is great, by the way. This isn't me dissing Chainlink. I just feel like facts have to be facts, and I think we have to be careful about stating things as fact when there's no direct proof for it or statement anywhere. And I think that's just a problem in crypto in general. I think it's great. I think what they're doing with the Chainlink Reserve is awesome. Yes, I'm invested in their token too, but it's not because it disappoints me that I'm not excited anymore about what they're actually building. If you only care about the price, then you shouldn't have invested in projects like Chainlink to begin with. Well, I don't know about that. I get it. Like, we have these conversations with Algorand too. Like, there's the price and there's the tech, and they're not always aligned, and that's just the way it is. But I think if you invest in something, isn't that what you're investing in it for? So that will go up over time. Maybe you shouldn't care about short-term price action. That's fair, I think. It's a project with long-term vision, so if you fail to think long-term too, then you're definitely having a hard time. But don't reflect that on others because you cannot handle it. Maybe you should buy stuff with short-term vision, the next hype meme coins even. Let's see who wins the race long-term. Well, I buy stocks for long-term. Yeah, Chainlink was trading at 12.52, down 1.7 in the last 24 hours. On StockTwits, retail sentiment around Chainlink dropped from bullish to neutral, accompanied by normal chatter levels over the past day. So it's hard to say because some people might point to the price drop and say, well, wouldn't the price be going up if this were actually true? But that doesn't always happen. I think most of the time it doesn't happen. I think it's very, very, rare that we see price impact crypto. I'm sorry. It's rare that we see news impact crypto prices anymore. It used to be the case that a major announcement would just skyrocket a coin. We used to have a saying called buy the rumor, sell the news, because the rumor would be like, oh, this might happen. You buy it, and then when it goes up, it's usually too late. It skyrockets right away. Haven't seen that as much as we used to. That's really starting to become a thing of the past. So I think that's important to keep in mind. So basically, bottom line, it would kind of make sense. I think Chainlink it would make sense that in some way this platform would use Chainlink, since it's like an Oracle network and an interoperability layer. Would make a lot of sense to use Chainlink. But I don't see anything that flat out proves that that is the case. Like we said, there was some talk about ICE and Chainlink earlier, but nothing solid. And this story isn't very solid. This is a really bizarre story, actually. Yeah, I don't want to make assumptions about the author, but it seems like maybe, I don't know. It just seems like a bunch of like stuff thrown into. It doesn't really feel like a story, like a solid story. It's like a bunch of stuff thrown into one spot. So, hey, bottom line, I hope I'm wrong about. I would love that to be the case. I'm a Chainlink holder. I like it. I think it's doing good stuff. You know, it said multi-chain settlement, so it sounds like a lot of different chains could be involved in this New York Stock Exchange news. I think that's really cool, but nothing solid. You don't know. So, we'll be keeping an eye out for that. And that concludes our New York Stock Exchange segment, which I didn't think I'd be having that. All right. Well, let's see how we're doing. Hope everyone enjoyed that segment. And if you got comments, of course, leave them below. Yeah, I totally forgot to put that out there, to switch it to vertical. And just a reminder, we did have a nice, thanks, said Vladimir. Well, appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. Top fans right now are Green Blue Algo, followed by Vladimir at 20, and then William PMCD. So thanks for. But we got a lot of have 25, so which is not a big chat today, and that's okay. And I keep trying to check the multi-chat, but it's mostly YouTube chat that I get. I wish they had a little indicator when you actually get a chat. Make sure to check out our Algorand lottery video, daily lottery video, because I think it's a pretty cool project, and I think it's worth it's worth getting to know it and how it works. You might find it interesting, maybe you wouldn't. I don't know, but I think it's pretty cool. We got that. Otherwise, we'll be posting videos from this throughout the week, and follow me on X. Just search FrugalBC. I have the little Alpha Arcade logo next to me, so you'll know it's me. Otherwise, yeah, I'm FrugalBC. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see